Welcome to the Maria Felipe Show, where happiness and inner wisdom unite. I am your host, Maria Felipe, and I'm here to guide you on a journey of self-discovery, transformation, and the pursuit of boundless joy. Through inspirational interviews, profound teachings, and soul-nurturing meditations, we'll explore the path to inner peace, happiness, and abundance. So get ready to dive deep, ignite your spirit, and uncover the secrets to living your happiest, most fulfilled life. Let's embark on this incredible adventure together. And now, let's listen to this next enlightening inspiration. Enjoy. Hi, welcome to the Maria Felipe Show. Today, I have an incredible episode for you with teacher of A Course in Miracles, Jennifer Hadley. We sit down and we talk about the holidays, forgiveness, what is true forgiveness, and even getting into the new year and being able to live with a perception that's coming from love. We went over so many things. She talked about all in for God, which is basically really being uncompromising and practicing the Course in Miracles, practice any spirituality that you're into. Also, we talked about just being okay with being a hot mess. You know, sometimes we just go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, my friends. So enjoy this episode. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the Maria Felipe Show. This is all about having conversations that are inspiring and practical and the practical application of A Course in Miracles, but not only that, other spiritual themes as well. And today I have the honor and the privilege to interview a dear friend of mine. She's also a colleague, and Jennifer Hadley has been around forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, I just get goosebumps saying that. And she's a Course in Miracles teacher. She has so many programs. She's an entrepreneur. She's always creative and inventing new things for course students. Powerful prayer goddess. She takes prayer to the next level. I love her voice and the way she prays and her groups and the difference she's making in the world. So thank you, Jennifer, for being here today.
Oh, it's totally my pleasure to join with you. We've known each other a long time, right? We used to hang out when we both lived in LA, and now you live in Florida, and I'm temporarily in Maine. So, yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's-
Well, I I met you, I can say around 2012, 2013. You were one of the first people that actually, first person that contacted me to be in one of your programs. You were like one of my first things. Again, I'm getting goosebumps because you were one of, you found me through Pathways of Light. I had just become a minister, and you said, can you be part of this program? And I was so excited being a new teacher. I was like hot off the press. I was brand new. And you gave me that opportunity, and that I really appreciated that. And not only that, you continue to invite me. You continue to invite me to this day. I remember you had your own show on Unity Radio for a very long time. Remember that?
yes.
And you had me on there. And I remember people showing up at Unity of Burbank when I was speaking there saying they showed up there because they heard me on your show and they would come visit me. So the changes you make, the people you connect, we never know who we're touching, right? That's why I love podcasts and to get together with other people, because this is how the word spreads. We don't know who's going to listen to this,
That's
right? So
yes.
that's a little backstory of Jennifer and I. Also, a big thing is that her and I were in Greece together.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What a trip that was.
2014, she invited me to my first ever retreat. It was out of this world. Gary Renard was there, other great teachers. What an experience. The stuff you put together. How do you do it? That's where I want to start. You do these big things because that was a big retreat, people from all over the world. And you continue, you've done more retreats since then. That's probably
Oh,
nothing to you, but I'm just curious. Let's start there.
yeah, I just feel that's my guidance. That's part of my impetus. That spirit is always directing me how to connect people together, how to network people together. It's just I have an intuitive feel about the connections between people. And I do feel part of my impetus in being truly helpful is to help people connect to their teacher.
Mm.
I don't need to and can't be everyone's teacher. And of course, Miracles is very clear in the manual for teachers that your students have been assigned to you, and that's not going to change. So that's why when we hear the voice of our teacher, we go, oh, oh, I really hear what they're saying. And they may say the same thing that somebody else has been saying, but now you hear it as if for the first time because there's a vibrational match there that you're assigned to each other. And so I really respect that. So I do feel that part of my impetus is to introduce people to their teacher, help them find them. And that's a beautiful thing. I love to hear that. And by the way, that podcast, Course of Miracles, is what it's called, and it's still going strong since 2011.
Wow.
Yep, so it's still out there. Your episode's still out there. Yes, I'll have to have you on again.
So you continue doing that now. I didn't know.
Yes, I have. I never stopped.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Unity Online Radio closed. Yes, but I'm still going, and I am preparing to launch my A Course in Miracles podcast network and put other podcasts on there. So I'll talk with you about putting this podcast on that network.
Wow, that is so neat. What perfect timing, divine timing. But yes, Greece was amazing. Everything you do is incredible. And I love that because what I'm hearing is you basically follow guidance, you trust, you
I
follow
do.
your creativity and you create things. And speaking about that, Jennifer and I are going to be discussing um basically the about the Course in Miracles, but not just that. Anybody can watch this. I don't want everybody to think that this can help anyone, which is a topic of forgiveness. And
That's right.
forgiveness on the Course is very radical. And I we want to talk about the holidays and how forgiveness can help you throughout the holidays, which I always say forgiveness is a power, like a power tool, superpower, actually, superpower. And I wanted you to speak to Jennifer forgiveness and what it is for those that don't know what it is. Maybe somebody's not from A Course in Miracles listening to this because the forgiveness of the Course in Miracles was really life-changing and can really help us with that cuckoo brain throughout the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. So A Course in Miracles teaches forgiveness in a way that, let's say, Christianity and others aren't so clear about. And not to disregard them, but just A Course in Miracles is all about forgiveness. It really is. And so, one of the things people will say, well, you just need to forgive that. But people don't explain how do you do that? And people will say, honey, you need to get over that. But how do you get over it? So
Mm,
that's why, for me, teaching this true forgiveness that A Course in Miracles offers us is sacred. It's sacred, holy work. And it's so much easier than any other kind of forgiveness. And it actually works. I remember years ago, somebody posted something on Facebook that said, does anybody know a really good anti-inflammatory? And I just wrote forgiveness because
what? I love
yes,
that.
it is the best anti-inflammatory. And over the years, I've worked with so many people who had chronic pain that either lessened their chronic pain or they eliminated their chronic pain through practicing true forgiveness. So true forgiveness is very simple but it's not always what we want. So true forgiveness is being willing to give up our attachment to thinking that we know what things are for. It's giving up our attachment to thinking we know who's good, who's bad, who's right, who's wrong. It's giving up our attachment to our interpretation of things and the meaning we made of things. Because we've all had experiences where we made meaning of something, we interpreted something, and through the lens of our beliefs, right? Through the lens of our sense of unworthiness, through the lens of our low self-esteem, from our shame, right? Our guilt. And we interpret what happens through that negative lens. It's not what the other people mean. It's not
Mhm.
even what they actually said or did. We just add all this interpretation to it, and we do it in order to confirm that we are bad, that we are victims, that we are unlovable. And that's why this is happening to us. But A Course in Miracles says the world is never happening to you, that you cannot actually experience one thing in this world that you haven't chosen, which I say is the biggest pill A Course in Miracles asks us to swallow it. But when we do say, okay, I've asked for this, I've asked for this. Do I want to understand why? Do I need to understand why? Or can I just say, and where's the good in it for me?
Mm.
Good. Can I have the good, please? But as long as we're thinking blame, shame, attack, there's no good. There's just more pain.
Wow. I love that about the pill, the best anti-inflammatory thing. That's such a great analogy, so simple. And for me, and you're very similar in the way we teach, very similar, and really living it, the practicality of it, even humor, making it light. I feel it's just so much more digestible. Speaking of pills, to be able to understand, especially the radical way that forgiveness is talks about in the course. And for me, I what I've what how for me, forgiveness has been a transformation, Jennifer, and it was one of the hardest things for me to understand at first was the concept of forgiveness because I felt it was so radical. Because you can be a victim. The course says, it's love or a call for love. It's your responsibility, as you just said right now. I've created this. Is the responsibility is that perception. What are we making it mean? Is all has to do with us. So radical, Jennifer. And I didn't understand it for a long time. Couldn't wrap my head around it. Even reading it in the course, or when I started to kind of unravel it a little bit, was when I read Gary Renard's book, The Disappearance of the Universe, because he really breaks it down really well there with some steps, but still. And it's been a journey with forgiveness. And I feel it's something that you get when you get, and sometimes you're actually not ready to get it because it's so freaking radical. But what has forgiveness meant to you? And did it take you time to wrap your head around it? Or
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
curious.
it took me time to unhook my seeing myself as a victim.
Mm,
That's what took time because I had invested so much in seeing myself as a victim. And I had invested so much, Maria, in seeing myself as a bad person,
mm,
as not good, as really maybe even evil. I
mm,
used to wonder, am I actually evil? Because I could be so mean at times. I could be so unkind, so judgmental, and in my mind, so attacking, relentlessly attacking in my mind. So the whole attack, defend, that was the entirety of the thoughts in my head. And so, because of that, I did not feel worthy of love. I did not feel worthy of awakening. I didn't feel worthy of my purpose, my life. And I had to forgive myself for all the meanness. And it wasn't hard to do, but I had to do it.
mm,
I had to not just think about it, I had to actually do it. So that's what I'm interested in, is helping people actually do it. Sit down, make time, go through certain steps, and do that actual release of the judgment, of the meaning you made of it, of your interpretation. And once you do that, there's so much healing, so much freedom. I'm sure you know people that have had all kinds of amazing physical healing, mental healing, emotional healing, financial healing, relationship healing, right?
yeah.
I mean, that's the great gift for us as Course in Miracles teachers is we see everybody in our programs, in our classes, the people who are committed to doing the work, OMG, right?
Yep.
They they have they start to live an absolutely miraculous
Yes.
life,
Mhm.
and it's real. I call it real people having real miracles, and it's just I was thinking about this yesterday, how just how many extraordinary miracles I've witnessed in my life. Things that where, someone's got a marriage that just they are at the place where they literally they hate their spouse. And a
Mhm.
year later, they adore their spouse. They could not be more grateful than they are, but they had to do that inner work. They had to be willing to let go of their opinions and judgments in order to see things correctly.
Mm.
And life is designed to push us to give up our attachments to the things that cause us suffering.
Mhm.
But no one can do that for us. And you can't get it from reading a book. You can't get it from taking a class. You have to actually apply the tools and do the inner work yourself. Now, you can do it with other people. You can do it with counselors, right? You can do it with coaches. You can do it in groups because we do that all the time in my ministry. You do that all the time in yours, right? So, but you have to actually do it. You can't just think that's a good idea. Oh, I bet that really works. No, you have to be willing to unhook your attachment to whatever that thought is that's causing your suffering. And that's what true forgiveness really is. And I always say the Holy Spirit will do the heavy lifting if you're willing. That's our only job is to be willing.
Wow. That's so well said. And first I wanted to speak to at the beginning when you started, you were so I love your authenticity and I love you sharing your life, and the obstacles you've had and the those thoughts and the attack and and the hate or whatever that was that you had to work through. Because I've had mine. Mine has always been the whole thing of looking for men for happiness and looking for the happiness outside or a man to complete me. That's been my forgiveness lesson. And I love what you're saying because I always come from it's time to do the work, it's time to live it. The time has come. Let's be uncompromising. Let's make no more exceptions. And that's what you're speaking to. And that for me was everything because I felt I had been studying the course for more than 10 years. I had been going to my group. I always say the kumbaya, which is nice, but not remotely living it. It's like I am love, but I'm going to look for love outside of myself, or I'm abundance and I'm going to suffer about my bank account. It was this self-sabotage, this blind spot that we have that we want change. We say we want change, right? And you said you can't get it in the class. We get in the class, we do the group, we do the program, let's say. It doesn't mean it doesn't work or it doesn't help. It does, although we need to step up our game. We need to become super uncompromising and say, I am so willing and I will forgive this even if I don't want to.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
you're speaking to.
Yes. That's right. Yes. Yes. Yep. So it is that being uncompromising. I call it being all in for God.
All
And
in
all in,
already here. All in for God. Love that.
and it's, I was speaking about this in class yesterday. everybody everybody falls down, right? Everybody makes errors. Everybody loses their stuff, right? They freak out, they yell at somebody, they blame somebody, they shame somebody. Everybody has moments like that. So the thing is that you own it. You go back to that person. I was telling the story of a friend of mine who when we were living in LA, and she was working a corporate job, and she would go to Kinko's to print out reports, right? And for her sales team or whatever it was. And they didn't do it right. So she would yell at them and tear them apart and be mean, be cruel to them. And
Wow.
she would go home and think, I'm a terrible person. I have to go back and apologize. So she'd go to Starbucks and she'd get like $5, $10 gift certificate cards, and she'd go back to the Kinkos and she'd tell every one of those people, I'm so sorry. I should never have said those things to you. I was not right. You're a good person. You deserve better. And I apologize. That had nothing to do with you. It was 100% me. I'm very, very sorry. Please accept my apology. That's what grown-ups do.
Mm.
That's what spiritually mature people do. It's not that they never get upset, it's they own it. They take responsibility for the way that they interpret things. The feelings that they have are never somebody else's fault. And once you click into that, you're taking responsibility for sight, responsibility for feelings, then your mind starts to awaken. And that's what really, when you take responsibility, when you don't judge, you just observe without judgment. When you're able to have these practices all day, then there's nothing left to forgive anymore because you're not judging it. You're not interpreting it. You're just standing there going, okay, that happened. That happened. I mean, I did that with the election, to a certain degree,
Yeah.
because I was super disappointed, but I was like, okay, that happened. I I don't want to live in pain and suffering. I'm not a victim of the world. So that happened, and I'm moving forward in love.
You know what I'm hearing? Freedom.
Yeah, yeah,
Freedom. It's just the freedom of the freedom of what you're saying. If we do it, there's so much freedom there. And I would like to add, that, and this, we're so worthy of that. We're
yes,
so worthy of that release. We're so worthy of that experience, of that freedom, of going from that pain to that grace. And again, you're right. It's not me. I always say, we're going to be a hot mess. Sometimes I'm a hot mess. Maria la Loca comes out. It happens. That's part of the learning, the growing, and then that grace. I always get really excited sometimes when I go a little cuckoo because I get to practice. I'm like, oh, I get to practice. I'm making this very real right now. I get to practice now. And I think that it just makes it lighter, although I feel that sometimes, and you could speak to this too. It's like sometimes I feel we think we have to feel good, or spirituality looks a certain way. And I think we're starting even to learn now with mainstream media. It's like authenticity is good. And sometimes you're not going to have it all together,
that's right.
you're going to forget. And,
Yeah.
and it's time for that shift of perception. And it's time to give yourself grace and question that, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So that's why I say spiritual maturity is taking responsibility for your choices, right? Your choices are your thoughts, your words, your actions, your emotions, and not blaming anyone ever, 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 just taking total responsibility. And when you get the hang of it, it feels so good
Mhm.
because I used to blame everybody for anything that I didn't like. It was always about blaming somebody else. I never would take responsibility. And then I would always feel awful. I'd feel angry and upset and irritated, but I wasn't upset for the reason I thought. I
Mhm.
thought I was upset because of what I saw happening in the world, but actually I was upset because of the meaning I was making of it, and that I was blaming and I was shaming other people. So there's so much freedom, like you say, in that taking responsibility. And that's the essence of true forgiveness. So it's not a sin to interpret things through the lens of your false belief. It's not
Mhm.
a sin to interpret things through the lens of your low self-esteem, right? Like, I mean, we all have had experiences where the people didn't save a seat at the table for us, right?
Mhm.
We arrive and they're like, oh, we forgot you were coming. Now, some of you would be like, oh God, these people, these are not my people. I got to get out of here. But another person would just be like, I get it. It's busy. It's Christmas time. There's a lot going on. Can't keep track of everything. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to take it personally because what, you're too busy to remember how many people were coming or what. So, but we make meaning of it when we have low self-esteem, right? And it's very popular right now for people to cry out, you're hurting me. I'm a victim. I'm a victim of you. I'm a victim of you. And I think we need to look long and hard at that and say, no, I'm not going to give everybody else my power. I'm going to stand in the power of love within me. And if it seems like I can blame them for how I feel, I need to pause and put a pin in that so I can be happy and feel free. As long as I take responsibility for how I feel, then I'm always able to get out from under it. But if I blame other people for how I feel, then I'm dragging them around with me all the time. And I can't get out from under them. But I'm the one that is seeing it that way. It's my interpretation. And I work with people who have really been abused at times, but their misery in the present moment, long after the abuse, is because of the meaning they made of it, not because of what happened, because it's not happening anymore. Their meaning that they made of it, that's still happening.
Yeah. And then it's hurting them in the moment, even though
Yeah,
it's something that happened 20 years ago, 40, 30 years ago, it could happen 2 months ago. That's why the practice of forgiveness and true forgiveness is so powerful because for me, what I've understood in the way that it makes it very easy is basically non-judgment. It's really the practice of not judging. I wish I would have heard it like that a long time ago, but it wasn't the time. But now I get it. And it's like, you're right, Jennifer. The problem is not outside of us. I always say, do you think it's easy for me to wake up in the morning and to understand that my problem is not my husband? Do you think that's easy for me? I always say that. And you know what? Christian is lovely. I tell people he's lovely. He's such a great companion. We have a great relationship, but of course, sometimes we have our things and when my ego wants to think he's my problem, it's my job to choose again. It's my job to take that responsibility you're saying. It's my job to come back to my right mind, to have, wow, this is really upsetting me. I can feel it in my heart. I can feel it boiling. It's especially in relationships, they trigger us. And what you're saying is so powerful because you're speaking to that. It's like, okay, I need to do the work here. And Jennifer, I know what you mean in that release. Even what you were saying about the woman and the Kinkos, right? It's like the way she felt after. That's when I do that with Christian and I forgive myself. I even maybe have a conversation with him. It's powerful because not only did I release myself, I released him. Who knows the ripple effects it's done because we're all one mind. So we need to know we're not only doing it for us, but for everyone, right?
right. That's right. And since we are going into the holiday here, the Christmas holiday,
Yep.
end of year holidays, and it is also for us here in the Western Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, it's the darkest time of the year, right? So that's challenging for me. You're in Florida, I'm in Maine. Here, it's dark at 4:15. So
Oh, okay. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's no joke because we're so far north and I'm so far east as well. So um, it's really one of the best things I ever learned is that I used to go to holidays with my family and I would go expecting to be disappointed. I would go anticipating that something would happen and I would get hurt. Right.
Mm.
And of course, because I was always interpreting things as a victim. And so, of course, I would expect to be disappointed. Of course, I would expect to get hurt. So those things would happen. And then I would think, see, why do I do this to myself? Why do I even bother anymore? I used to have those kinds of thoughts. But as I began to have more spiritual maturity and practice of taking responsibility, one of my biggest light bulb moments was that I can be in a situation, let's say with my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, whoever it is, anywhere, any place, but particularly with family, that let's say they're snapping at me, they're cranky with me, they're attacking me, and I reciprocate, or vice versa, right? And now we're in a little and it's he said, she said, it's your fault, it's your fault. And I'm innocent, you're the perpetrator here, whatever it is, all that blame shame game stuff happens. And I used to walk away from that and I would sulk and I would ignore them, right? I would ignore them until they came to me and said, I am so sorry. I basically needed them to say to me, you're right and you're good and I'm wrong and
Oh,
I'm
wow.
I needed that
Wow.
because I felt so bad and wrong inside. I needed them to come to me and say, it's not you, it's me. I'm a horrible person. You didn't deserve that. Right. And, they didn't want to do that. So I would shun them, be cold, withhold love, and all of that. And I had no idea that was making me feel worse and worse and worse and worse. But I finally realized, thank God, I realized that I could stop all of that and I could say, I could turn it right around and go back to the person and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. I understand you're under pressure and I feel under pressure too. And I snapped at you. I picked a fight with you. I'm sorry. I was irritable. I blamed you for it. It's not your fault. And I hope you can forgive me. And when I first started doing that, people in my family were like, who, who are you? I don't recognize you.
Wow.
Are you, are you my daughter? Are you my sister? Are you my,
I love that.
yeah. And so they didn't believe me at first, like, whoa, what game is she playing now? But seriously, they began to see that I had that capacity. I started to develop that spiritual maturity, mental capacity, emotional capacity to just say, hey, I'm sorry. And I call it going first. I learned to go first, to
Mhm.
let the other person off the hook, to ease my pain more
Wow.
than anybody else's, to ease mine so that I wasn't sitting around complaining and stewing and festering.
Yeah, and then you're happier throughout the holidays, and also this is something I feel that everyone can relate to, and I'm happy you brought it up because I feel that now going again into the holidays, but not even that, going into the new year, going into this new year that's coming up, it's you can use all of this all year round. It's not just for Christmas or the holidays. It's like, how can I show up differently? How can I take more responsibility? What does forgiveness look like in my life? And what's my commitment to it? And really letting people off the hook, learning to be more happy than right, and all this stuff. So this is so powerful. And again, the key here, Jennifer, that I'm hearing is you're allowing yourself. You're like, okay, I forgot. And now I remember again, and you make it right. And that's what we can all do. We can all do that. And now in closing, I just wanted to maybe get some last anything you want to share. I know you have your website, Jennifer Hadley. Is it .com or .org?
Well, they can go to jenniferhadley.com. They're going to be redirected to powerofloveministry.net.
Okay.
Powerofministry.net. Yeah.
And I'll make sure to put Jennifer's information on the description and you can reach out to her. She has different so much going on. How long has it been? How many years already? A long time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I became a science of mind practitioner in 2000.
Okay.
But I was doing retreats and things like that in 97
Mm-hmm.
when I started. Yeah.
Any final thoughts? Anything that Spirit's prompting you to share to wrap it up? Any final words for the audience?
Well, A Course in Miracles tells us forgiveness gives us everything we need. It
Mm.
offers everything we need, everything we want. And I know that to be true. And I encourage people to become so, so good at understanding how and why forgiveness works. It is a spiritual practice that will bring you more benefit than you can possibly imagine.
Superpower. Tremendo superpower. It's incredible. And again, I said this before, but we're all so worthy of that. I'm grateful for you, Jennifer. I'm grateful for this conversation. I feel that this interview will give a little spark to this upcoming holiday season. And everyone that's listening right now, we send you our love. If this episode has changed you, you've learned, you've had a value, please share it. And thanks again, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone. Forgiveness rocks. Love you.